Hello, I'm Paul Briley, and you're listening to Off the Comma. I'm a human who cares about supporting other humans. On this podcast, we explore all facets of what it means to feel stuck in life. We talk with people just like us who have found themselves sitting on a comma and not knowing where to go next. We will unpack the experience with them, where they've been stuck, what it feels like, what they experienced, and what they learned. My goal is to inspire you by seeing yourself in others. I believe that when we feel more connected and seen, magic can happen. If you find yourself sitting on a comma in your life, remember, you can also talk to me without a microphone. To explore coaching with me and getting off the comma in your own life, book a call with me at offthecomma.com. In the meantime, let's get into this week's conversation. Hey, everybody. We're back again with another powerful episode of Off the Comma. And I am just so grateful for this community and for what we're creating here, because people are showing up and people are sharing their stories. And there's just so much connection that's happening here. And, you know, we really do see ourselves in each other. And I'm just so grateful for the fact that we're creating a space for people to share bravely. And this week is no exception. And like in other episodes, this week I'm interviewing someone who has just recently come into my circle. And Lisa and I have just met, and we kind of clicked immediately in the meeting that we met at. And since then, we've been talking about some other ideas. And of course, like so many other folks, I'm like, hey, you should come on the podcast. So this week it's Lisa, and it's Frydenlund, correct?
You got it.
Okay, nice.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm going to hand it over to you, Lisa. So tell us, how would you like to be known?
I am curious, creative, and absolutely passionate. What I have done, who I have been, is a mother. I am a mom of 26, and I'm also a dad, because I'm a single widow, however you want to call it, parent, starting when he was 8 years old. I am also, and actually, you know what? I'm going to use a past tense, a human resources professional. Not that I won't ever use it again. It will always be a part of who I am, but it is not the core of who I am anymore. And I am an artist.
Nice. And curious, creative, passionate artist, and then these family roles and professional roles. And it's interesting because the HR piece is the thing that kind of perked and turned our ears forward when we met each other. It's like, oh, you too, right? Uh-huh. So that's kind of what brought us together initially.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm also a Libra. And I have recognized that there are very two distinct differences in who I am and what I bring and when I bring it. And I think the profession of HR and then the rest of who I am, they don't necessarily jive all the time. However, I've been able to sprinkle them in and out of each other's life to make it work and make me who I am. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like that is also common, right? We have these different identities. You've described at least 3 so far, right? Well, just in terms of like kind of who I am as a person, the roles that I play in my family, roles that I play in my work, and they do, right? They can become like separate versions of ourselves in a mild way, or sometimes in a significant way, and we kind of blend in and out of them, don't we?
Yeah, I have to be aware of who is essentially present, me, and my audience, because typically, at least my experience has been that not everybody is okay with all of me. And so I have to show up to support the audience that I'm supporting.
That's a powerful statement, right? And I'm hearing you describe awareness, right? Being aware of yourself. Lisa, what I do with every guest before we get into the questions is I like to start with intentions. And as you think ahead to this conversation we're going to have over the next 45 minutes or so, what intention would you have for yourself?
I want to live as of this moment in an artful way. And I have to give credit to Rubin because I was listening to a podcast of his this morning and I went, oh my gosh, that's it. I want to be in an artful way going forward.
What does that mean to you?
It means that art leads, and art means so much to me. It's creative. It's all about who I think I never was.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to be. And it takes me back to when I was in 7th grade living in Denton, Texas, sadly, or not, sorry. And somehow I got sent over to the person who lived behind me. Her name was somebody Armstrong was her last name. She did pastels, and I created 2 pieces of art with her that I still have to this day. And then nothing ever happened after that. And granted, I get that being the oldest of 6 kids and taking care of all that means that you probably have limited resources and cash. So maybe they thought, okay, well, great, you tried it, and now let's move on to something else. So I feel like I want to be that little person again and grow up in it and surround myself in art and wear it.
Cool. Yeah. I'm hearing this arc from childhood experience to now. And I talk to a lot of people, and we're in a similar generation. We've already talked about that, right? So I'm not ratting you out on the podcast.
It's all good.
As if that was even something to rat out. But we already talked about being of a similar generation. And so many folks at this stage of our lives, right? Like, of all the press out there about generations and the types and descriptions and so forth, set that stuff aside. That's a separate conversation. What I'm knowing about people in our generation is that once we've reached this milestone in life and we start to make these career shifts and thinking about ourselves and where we want to go, there tends to be, I see a lot of folks who there's an arc. It's like, now I'm going back to who I was as a kid. And I'm revisiting some of those things that don't feel complete. So I'm hearing art leads is art's leading me back to where it started.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And one of the things, on a side note, just being the mom that I am, I've always wanted to make sure that my son has done what he has wanted to do, whatever has fed his soul, because mine wasn't. And that's the only thing I blame my parents for. They know that well, that it's the only thing I'll blame them for, that they didn't let me pursue it. So,
okay. Yeah. So there's a message in there too, right? Like a call to action for parents. No, I so appreciate that. That's part of your story. It's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get into your story. So, as with all my guests, you and I haven't talked about what you're going to be sharing with us today. I like it to be new for me as well. So I always ask the same 5 questions of every guest, and then the conversation unfolds from there. So let's start with the first question, Lisa. Where have you found yourself sitting on a comma in your life?
So I have contemplated this question because I look at words and I probably overanalyze them. I do. And when I heard sitting on a comma, that actually felt comfortable to me. It felt like a big comfy couch. And I don't know if you remember that back in the day. That might be older than you.
Nope.
Okay, good. But sitting on a comma means that you have a pause. And I guess I never was able to take a pause because of my life experiences. I am now in a pause, and it is feeling amazing. I would say my life experiences have felt more like falling off of a comma or never getting on it. And so the pause that I have come into started about 2 years ago. And that took me for a whirlwind. It really, really did. So, I would say in 2019, was it 2022? Yeah, 2022. Yeah, I got the sales knocked out of me. That's a saying. I never get my sayings right. But anyway, yeah.
It sounds like this was a significant experience. And obviously folks are only getting the audio here. You and I are looking at each other. And I could see the thought that was going into that, and you were going up into a place in your mind, your memories and your imagination as you were introducing this story. What would you share with us about that experience?
So, and it's still heavy. I have, quote, processed it. to the best of the ability that it's going to be processed. So about 2 years ago, actually, oh my gosh, tomorrow, 2 years ago tomorrow, I was let go. I was put into a role, HR, diversity, equity, inclusion, all of that, the lead of, and I was in love because it wasn't a good fit. 9 months later, I left and I was devastated. And I think, like any kind of loss, the grief comes in waves. And if anybody's ever dealt with grief, it's a nasty little beast. At the same time, or 3 months later, my son graduated from Sac State with a degree in child and adolescent development. And the journey getting him to that place, that's a whole nother story. But the joy and pride and love and everything else that goes with that as a parent was just beyond. And then I realized that I don't have a job. I am now, I'm not an empty nester because he still lives with me, but everything I have known myself to be, an HR person and a mom in the true sense, we're done. And it fell apart. I started getting the feelings that I've had over the course of my, I would say, last 12 years of my anxiety. I do deal with anxiety. I have been able to manage it, thank goodness. But it crept back in again. And I can actually feel it when it happens. And my immediate sense was, I can't let this happen again. I can't go there again. And so I was working, I had begun my network of trying to get myself back into a job. I wasn't sure. I thought I was going to go be a consultant, an HR consultant. I'd actually connected with somebody out in Modesto to transfer his blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I ended up getting a temporary job at a senior living facility support environment community. And I said, sure, I'll do it. I'll work for this temporarily. It's a nice placeholder for me, and it gives me income because I've never been a person to save. Finances are not one of my thing. My true savings is my home. I own a home. I've owned 4 homes in my life, which I'm very proud of all by myself. And because my husband, when he passed away in 2006, never left me a life insurance policy, because why would you need one? Why would you pay for one of those things? So my homes have always been my life insurance policy. So sorry, I digress. Anyway, so I took a temporary job as an HR manager, which was, I see it as I had gotten to the pinnacle of my HR career as a chief people officer in a wonderful organization called Playworks in Oakland. And then moved myself, I don't want to say down, but over to an advisor role. And then I did systems. And then I became a manager. And I went, I'm going to try not to let the ego in. It's a paycheck. And I did it. So I did it for 1.5 years. And through that entire period of time, I was dealing with managing my anxiety and getting to work and sitting there in it. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this type of, this condition, but it sucks. It's bad. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And so while I was not thrilled with where I was, it gave me a sense of peace knowing that I was going to be okay here, that nobody was going to come at me, that I could walk in, and this may sound silly, but this is Lisa. Walking to where the snacks were kept was a peaceful feeling, or knowing that there would be pickleball players behind my office every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and the noise, as annoying as it was, it still gave me comfort because it was okay here.
Yeah. Can I jump in for just a moment?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you're sharing so much here and so many things that have significant meaning to you and an effect on you, and yet is not an experience that you're alone in. Certainly not to diminish your experience in any way, shape, or form. But you said two things that I'm curious about. One was this experience, I don't wish it on anyone. And then followed by, and here's where I had what sounds like a pretty opposite experience. Can you just share a little bit more with us about what you meant by those two things, the quote unquote bad experience and then the experience of peace in those routines?
So I have learned, and it's probably from my Catholic mother and upbringing, that God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. I'm like, okay, Mom, really? And at one point, I just have to say, I learned a phrase, Mom, get off the cross, they need the wood. So sorry, I just had to throw it out there. Okay. And I am thankful for my mother's strong faith, because she is Pollyanna's super sunshine and Mother Teresa's sister is what I've always called her. And so I have always tried to find a silver lining, at least in my adult life, for the very dark things that have happened to me, because that's how I get through. And so when I say I wouldn't wish anxiety on anybody, because it's a horrible physical feeling and an emotional feeling. Like it takes me, it really did a number on me. I mean, I would bounce back and forth with weight, but the feeling it gave you, it's almost undescribable. And so I was very well aware of it, because I'm a very aware person of all my stuff, sometimes to the detriment of my well-being. But knowing that I was coming into a place, even though I didn't want to be there, it still gave me a sense of it's okay. And it became a routine of comfort. So I knew where I was going to go. I knew what I was going to do. I knew that the people that, for the most part, that I worked with loved me. And that gave me like a cocoon of, it's okay. There wasn't expectations that were being held that I couldn't meet. If anything, I was like, I got this. I can do this in my sleep. So I was obviously meant to be there at this point in my life so that I could be okay.
Well, and it seems like what you were sharing earlier, right, is, I mean, so many parts of this that resonate. These two roles have come to an end. You know, we could have a whole nother conversation about what does ending mean, but
yes,
these roles have now shifted. They're not the same as what they were. Your identity has now shifted dramatically and or feels like it's evaporated. And that creates these anxious experiences and feelings. And then this placeholder role, as you called it, was like a life raft or a landing or, you know, something to hold on to. And so that brought back some sense of security and stability for you.
It did. It really, really did. And it came then to a time in October of this last year. Actually, it probably started in September, where my migraines, I'm a migraine sufferer. Yay. Thank you, Grandma. And I developed them on a regular basis, like we're talking daily. And I learned how to manage my migraines. I knew my headache, which was an Excedrin one, and I'm not trying to, give it to the Excedrin, but I knew my Excedrin headaches versus my medication headaches. I even got, this sounds silly, I tried Botox for the first time. Never, ever do it again, because Botox is one of those things, like for the worst kind of thing. Anyway, my doctor, I went in to see my doctor on, I think, the first week of October. And I said, is there any way you could give me 1 week off from work? And being the HR person that I am, I knew that I could get a week off with a no, because I'd been there for a year and it would qualify under, all that good stuff. And she did. And I still have that note. It's in my notebook right here, because that gave me a gift. And that gift was the ability to take a week away from what had become a very, very painful place. And I was able to talk to my dad, and my dad and I didn't speak for essentially 30 years. It's another story. And we reconnected a year and a half ago. And he gave me a chunk of change to go be a coach. and to live, to bankroll me for a period of time. And I went back in on October 9th and I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm resigning. And so the comma that I am now comfortably in, and I really do say that, is this space that I've been living in since October. As I sit on the comma I'm sitting on right now, it feels good. It's not been easy. And I actually had a couple of spikes here and there over the last several months about possible anxiety. I'm like, nope, not happening. And so I talked myself through it. And I'm feeling exhilarated. In fact, the last couple of days have been pretty amazing. And I think it's because I'm tuning in and connecting with people and places that I'm meant to. And I can feel it.
Well, and that's a great segue into our second question. I think you've really already started answering this question and have been for a little bit. But let me ask it again and see what you would add. As you look at this comma you're sitting on, which you have described as being a place of comfort and a place of like pause, reset, renewal, that it's a thing that's serving you. What has this created for you? Or what is this creating for you?
It's creating a space, literally and figuratively, for me to go be that artful way. And I say that because it's weird. Like, that saying, or the universe will give you gifts, or all those lovely sayings about follow your heart and all that. So I feel like, as difficult as that has been, and I'll explain why, I'm still going forward. And when I say difficult, I mean, I was brought up in a very traditional manner, and I am thankful for it. Okay. All six of us were told that we will go to school, get a degree, find a partner, get married, buy a house, and then have children. In that order. If you do not do it in that order, or if you veer from any of it, it is not correct.
No pressure.
Oh, and have a job too. You have to have a job, a good paying job. So I did all that by 32. And then I was like, okay. And so now I'm sitting here at 58 going, well, no one told me what I was supposed to be doing. So that means I have to do that. And that's really hard, even though I'm thankful for it. It's scary because when you don't feel like you have direction, even though inside your soul you feel it, it's hard to put it out there and make it happen, because you still need, you got to have the 5 basic needs of, Maslow's needs of hierarchy. And while I think most of that, the finance is a big piece of it. So, I've always done what I've been told to do to ensure that I have essentially what my parents have had.
It sounds like, on the one hand, this is creating a pathway to opportunity and new possibility. And it's also scary to go that different direction, which sounds like it's dramatically different from the directions you've gone for most of your adult life. And it also requires a little bit of trust, because it's not again, and I'm just kind of reflecting what I think I'm hearing. So correct me where I misstate, but
no,
this
please.
Different path. Let me say what I think is really coming up for me. This different path doesn't follow the same kind of, I'm doing air quotes, rules that the formula your parents prescribed would lay out for you. So going this pathway doesn't have the same milestones, doesn't have the same markers, doesn't have the same variables that run in tandem with it. The finances, the security, the safety. We could argue that those things aren't necessarily true for the traditional path either, as you've certainly illustrated. So, but you continue to refer to it as comfort And so I'd love to just hear a little bit more about that.
So I get to be quirky, crazy, silly, ridiculous Lisa. And I'm strong enough in now who I am to know that I don't care what you think. And when I say I don't care what you think, it means that I'm not going to change who I am, because I know who I am is doing with good intention. And that's something that's always struck me, is that it may be difficult. A conversation may be difficult. However, if I'm coming with it with good intention, it's okay. If it was any other way, then I wouldn't be cool with who I am, because I've grown up with some really amazing ethics and values across my life that I've learned and earned and all that. So the comfort is being me now. I get little, oh, Lisa, I miss your energy. Oh, your laughter, Lisa. I wish it was here again. Oh my gosh, Lisa, you were, those things give me pure joy. Because don't we all need a little bit of that? And if I can give that back, then I'm happy. And so that makes me comfortable. I also have this amazing roof over my head. And so that gives me comfort. So there's a physical comfort, and then there's that mental and emotional comfort. That's really critical for me. I'm comfortable in the way I express myself. So you can see my heart. That was intentional.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that. Like, for folks who can't see, you're wearing a top that has the heart right in the middle, and then these like concentric heart rings that radiate out from it. It's a very telling visual to match your story. And in addition to what you're sharing, I'm also sensing that the being me and being able to kind of be Lisa and go my own way, there's something in there about like breaking free from expectations, not following rules. Like, am I picking up on that?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I hate the line, you have to color within the lines. Well, who the hell said so? Why? Why would we want to? That's restrictive and by somebody else's rules. And who came up with that? So I like a challenge because I learned by it, and I ideally want others to as well, because we have to break out of the molds. It's not one way and I really question a lot of where we come from. So this morning I was listening to or saw something that there have been 2 suspects now arrested in the Kansas City shootings. And they said 2 adults. So when I think of adults, I think of grown. These kids, 18 and 19 years old, those are not adults. But our adult definition was defined how many years ago, and who at 18 is an adult?
And for what purposes, right? What was the original intention, and what purpose does that serve, and who? And I'm not here to say I have a specific bucket, but it's a powerful question to ask, right? Why did we make that the age? For whom? And what is that serving? And in what ways? And how has the world changed since then? That's what I'm hearing you say.
Thank you. And I'm just asking us to ask again, or to question, to be curious, because I teach my nephews and nieces, it's okay to ask a question as long as you do it in a, respectful, courteous way. But asking questions are important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, and so that's what I'm hearing you say loud and clear, is that you're kind of going a different direction, a direction that feels more authentic. You're able to explore more. So let's go to the third question. What are you learning about yourself, or what have you learned about yourself as a result of sitting on this comma?
I continue to learn how strong I am. And as strong as I am, and I get a little this way, it sucks to have to do it by yourself. I feel like, I feel like maybe you can relate, being in a family as large as mine, being the oldest, I never felt like the oldest. And I think probably at some point in time was like, okay, yeah, we got to worry about the rest of y'all. And so I'm like, okay. So I got out on my own because we were all meant to go off to college and pay our own way at the age of 18, once we graduated from high school, by the way. And I did. And I have been on my own with my parents' help for here and there. When I got involved with my deceased past husband, he was an alcoholic. And so there was a lot of alone time. He was a quiet drunk. And so I had to recognize what it meant to be with someone with that. When he died, I was on my own to take care. When my son was going through all of his stuff, I was alone because it was my fault that he was going through all this stuff per my family. I've always had to get things on my own. And as strong and as wonderful as that feels, especially as a woman, or at least that's what my mother would say, it sucks because I want some help. And I want some help from a partner level, meaning that they come with me. They are there with me. They bring to me what I bring to them. So I'm learning that I'm kind of getting tired of being alone. And it's great to promote myself. And I think I mentioned to you too, why being a part of community when we first met is so important to me, because I've never had it really.
Well, what I'm hearing you say,
that sounds so sad to say.
Well, let's unpack that, right? What I am hearing you say though is that you're very in tune with these deep feelings. You got emotional when you shared this idea of being how strong you are, right? And I was going to ask what would be different. What would you like to be different? You had already answered it. You know, what I'm hearing you say is, what I'm learning is the things that I'm capable of, the things that I can do, the things that I can celebrate and acknowledge myself for. And also I'm growing clearer and clearer on the things that aren't there that I would like to be there, the things that I would like to have. If you had this that you've described, you said, I'd like somebody at a partner level who can help. If you had that, what would that bring you?
This word just came into my head and I don't know what it is. Hold on one moment. It's almost, this is going to sound so cheesy. I would feel completed.
And yet that came up instantly when I asked the question.
Yes.
What does that mean for you when you say I would feel completed?
So I think that to have somebody know you, okay, and I'm gonna get all teary-eyed again. Oh my gosh. So let me use this. When you say I love you, okay, I say it in the meaning that I love you for you, not I love you for me. So when you are loving someone, that means you are loving all of them. And when you have that love and however that person can show it, that makes me feel complete. They're your safety net. They're your protector. They're your support financially. They're your person to laugh with, your person to be with, however you want to be, to go out and do whatever you want to do. And just know that they're your comfy pillow. It's your comfy couch.
Yeah. I mean, you sound clear about this. I mean, this is something else that's unfolding in this comma that you're sitting on, that you're allowing yourself to take advantage of, quite frankly, is getting clear on what you want next. That seems like that there's space here to really put some energy into that, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah. And that's hard to do too. But as I have often said, and this was my motto when I was raising my son, what doesn't kill you tortures you first and then makes you stronger. And never give up hope. Every day is a new day.
There's a message about resilience in there, right? And persistence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lisa, let's go to the next question. And then these questions kind of go back and forth, because I think you're going to unpack some things and then share some things that really support each other here. What has changed for you as a result of sitting on this comma?
Oh my gosh, I feel lighter. I could be a very heavy, intense person. And I didn't want to carry that energy forward because, the energy we hold and what we put out is typically what comes back. I believe in karma. And so I feel lighter. Like that baggage, that shit, that's in the past. And I'm still squishy, I'm still trying to figure it out. And I always want to figure it out. I want to continue to figure it out because if you stop figuring it out or if you finish figuring it out, that means one of my therapists years ago told me that means you're kind of not alive anymore. I'm like, you're right. If I'm done, then I'm done. I don't want to be done. So I've always remembered that.
Yeah.
So I feel squishy, but in a warm, comfy, cozy, squishy. And yeah.
Okay. Lighter. That the lighter just seems like it in and of itself has so much significance and weight, right? But the space is lighter for you. What else would you say has changed?
I think there's more comfort in who I am. There's a pride in who I am and who I've become. There's a gratitude of, all that I've done. And that feels really good. And I guess I say those because I notice that in me. And then when I am being a part of family and I see pain, I wish I could give them some of my stuff. Like almost like a balm, that you can put on just to give you to get you through that day.
And you're referring to this stuff that you've just shared with us, this new space that you're in that's lighter and gratitude and pride. Like that's the balm that you want to be able to give to others.
Yeah.
Well, here's question number 5. So, and I'm really curious about your response here. So what does getting off the comma look like for you?
Oh, that feels a little scary. I'm having a physical, one of the things years ago, one of the persons that I happened to date for 5 years, he would notice that when things kind of hit me in a space that made a difference, I would start like moving my feet back and forth. And my feet were just moving back and forth. That's weird. That just came to me.
But it's powerful though. Like I'd love to just like acknowledge that for a second. You said I'm having a physical reaction, a visceral reaction, and it's something that so many people talk about right now is the get into your body, like let your body tell you what's happening for you, even when your head isn't clear.
Yeah.
And so it's like the body is the keeper of our experiences. So while you're processing this mentally, your body's already got something to tell you. What do you think it's telling you?
So interestingly enough, that it's coming from my feet, and my visual in my head is I'm standing on the top of the comma. Okay. Like a diving board. So like I'm ready to dive off, and it has to be a pool because I don't swim in anything that I can't see the bottom of. So it's a great pool. But it's very, very high right now, and it's scaring the crap out of me. But I'm not going back down the stairs, so I have to jump.
Wow. Okay. So like your feet are ready to move.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very powerful. That's descriptive.
Yeah.
And I have to share that
Please.
People can't see you, but you're smiling, you're grinning. I mean, there was a lot of animation and movement, but you are grinning, like borderline laughing right now.
Yes. And yes.
Wow.
That's my Sicilian coming out at me too. My hands and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit scary, but ready to jump, ready to leap.
Yeah. Okay. And then I just have to share this other piece. I have a thing about, what are the dancers in the pool? The synchronized swimming.
Yeah.
I have always thought it would be so cool to be one of them. So I literally saw jumping off the board, and then I have this lovely flower cap on in the pool doing my synchronized swimming because that is such an amazing, beautiful, fabulous, calm, I love the water place.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's a really clear visual. That's really cool. What do you think that signifies? I don't usually ask this question, but what do you think that signifies for you about what's next?
I think it's all floral skin caps and water and water has always given me a cleansing. It just cleanses me. And I love, by the way, your backdrop there. I have, in fact, I need to go to the water. I feel it really bad right now in a good way. But water combined with beauty, combined with silly, combined with dancing, all of that. And that's fabulous. How could you not be having fun?
And there's this element because you specifically said synchronized swimming. What's the element of synchronized swimming?
Oh, it's with other people.
Oh, wow. Because you flat out said, and you've told me before, like community connection.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
And I still have to work for it because you don't just sit there on top of that water looking all pretty without moving those legs and arms.
Nice. That is beautiful. Well, Lisa, that is just a powerful story. So I'd love to check in with you as you look back now on this conversation over the last 45 minutes or so. What would you acknowledge yourself for?
Oh my God, I've had such an amazing time. So this is going to sound maybe a little conceited. I don't know. I love talking, if you didn't get that. I love sharing and I love having fun doing it and laughing about it. And this has given me such an amazing feeling. I'm all giddy inside.
Nice. Well, and your passion for telling stories and storytelling comes through. And the other thing that I noticed about this experience with you is that it wasn't just the story. I mean, it was like a garden, like you're running down the path and you're trying to show us, the crops or the flowers or the plants along the path, but there's a seed and there's a seed and there's a seed. So like there's so many stories that someone could come back to and revisit with you along the way. So that's the visual that comes up for me. And it's like, it's this kind of tossing the seeds, and trusting they'll go where they go. And I'm not worried about them and we can keep rolling versus oh, wait, I need to go over there and check on it and see where it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
talk about the leading with art. So
yeah.
Wonderful. So Lisa, tell us, where could people find you if they wanted to learn a little bit more about you or possibly even get in touch with you?
So my LinkedIn profile, I am also in process of establishing my business, Paint Your Path. I haven't officially set up the platform, but that will be coming. So if you are interested in that, you can reach me at my email account, which I know will be in the profile as well. So
yeah, we definitely have those links in the show notes. Wonderful. Okay. And I definitely recommend, if anybody's curious about Paint Your Path, to connect with you on LinkedIn so they can look for updates. And
yep.
Nice. Well, before we wrap up, one of the other things that's an important part of every single episode is, because this is about your story and because this is a platform where we lift up people and help their stories, get out to the world that needs them, I do this thing called acknowledgments. And so as you look within your life, in your circle, who in your life would you like to give a voice to or boost or lift up? And that could be people that are important to you. It could be causes, organizations, businesses, creators. Who would you like to acknowledge? And of course, we'll include all the links in the show notes.
So I am reading a fabulous book, The Creative Way. I can't remember. I will put it in there, but by Rick Rubin, which is amazing. And while he's just come into my life, so to speak, he's giving me a sense of purpose. The Sacramento Library, because that's how I heard about the book. And I am a firm believer in learning as much as you can. Libraries hold a special place because I was taken to the library every week during the summertime as I was growing up, and the smell of books and the touch and all that. So please, library. And then the Crocker holds a very dear place in my heart for so many reasons. They are an amazing organization with amazing art and humans that are supporting it. So.
And the title of the book was The Creative Act, A Way of Being.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing your story and adding your story to this collection of stories that we're building, and joining this community that we're building here. All of these shared or common experiences that folks are putting out here on this platform. And I will look forward to working with you. I know we've got some volunteer stuff in the mix, and I will look forward to our next conversation. But meanwhile, you have a wonderful rest of your week.
You too. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What an honor and a privilege it is for me to witness these powerful stories. I hope you feel the same way too. I invite you to think about what you learned from this conversation. What stood out for you? What challenged you? What inspired you? And I encourage you to write it down in some form of journaling and reflection. It can be magical to set aside your expectations and just let the thoughts flow out of your head and onto paper, and surprises can reveal themselves to you. And if you do discover something you'd like to unpack further, book a call with me and let's talk about it. My links are in the show notes. Meanwhile, be sure to like this episode and follow the podcast here on this platform. Also, follow me on social media at Off the Comma. Interact with the posts, share what you learned from each episode, or just share your thoughts about the topic in general. And check out my website for workshops, events, and updates. If you were moved by today's conversation, pass it along to someone you care about. Thank you for listening to this episode of Off the Comma. As always, keep noticing and keep listening.